Today on the show, a deep-sea diver is low on oxygen, but luckily we got Woody Harrelson standing by. Then Natalie Morales is My Dead Friend Zoe. Spoiler! Also, Lewis Pullman runs from killers Bill Murray and Pete Davidson in Riff Raff. Sloths open up a food truck in sadly not a spin-off of Zootopia. And Griffin Dunne and Rosanna Arquette get divorced in sadly not a legacy sequel to After Hours. That's a lot of movies, let's get to it.
Is moving. Get out of the manifold right now.
Diver 2 is on bailout.
I will come back for you.
Make sure I'm aboard.
Last Breath is a movie I didn't walk into cold necessarily. I knew it was something coming out, and I don't remember if I saw a trailer for it, but the posters were everywhere, so at first glance I honestly thought, oh, this must be a throwback to something like Sphere or Deep Star 6. Not quite. A little before seeing it, I read, oh, it's a true story survival film, where not only was there a 2019 documentary on it, but the movie version is from the same director. Sort of an Apollo 13 or Gravity type story, but set hundreds of feet underwater, where 3 deep-sea divers are thrown off course due to the heavy storms above, and one is stranded with only a little bit of oxygen left. Where it really works is when we get to these sequences, shot incredibly well, and it doesn't just get suspenseful, but there are moments that are terrifying. Even from the beginning, there are scenes that do have a docu-feel to some of the camera work, if a little uneven. There's parts where it does make you feel trapped underwater with the characters, but then some scenes early on where it's shot more like one of those inspirational survival faith-based movies, even if it's not that. I don't know what the real people it's based on are like, but judging this as a movie, the characters are certainly types. One is the rookie who's about to be married, one is the cocky asshole, one is the seasoned pro doing his last dive before retirement. Some of the performances are very good, like Woody Harrelson's always great, and others aren't quite as strong as him, and there's parts where it'll cut to the fiancé and cross over into corny territory. And it is the type of film that does end with real footage, though I like that the real version of the younger guy looks more like Woody Harrelson than the character Woody Harrelson is playing. Flaws aside, it goes at a very good pace. The emotional beats work more often than they don't. But most importantly, you're certainly here for the suspense, and that element works really well, so it's a good B. Up next, it's the PTSD dramedy My Dead Friend Zoe. Stay tuned.
Oh my God, James. Okay. Aren't we better than this woe is me shit? Ugh, let's get out of here.
Be quiet. I'm listening.
Merritt.
My Dead Friend Zoe is what the title suggests, and a lot more. This is an excellent film. Sonequa Martin Green has returned from Afghanistan and is going through court-ordered therapy to confront her experiences in the war and her PTSD, which involves still communicating with her dead friend, who she served with, played by Natalie Morales. But not only that, she also has to take care of her grandpa, Ed Harris, who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and there's fantastic scenes between the two, where he talks about his experiences after his war versus hers, and a lot of the generational differences in how they handle their demons. I really love this possible romance that develops between her and Utkar Shambudkar. They have phenomenal chemistry, and he is charming and funny as hell throughout it. There's also great editing here, and sound editing, where we get these flashes and sounds of what may have happened to Zoe in the war, and there's moments it's edited like a horror film when she gets a panic attack. The biggest criticism I have, oddly enough, is the dead friend Zoe, at least in the first half. I like her a lot in the flashback sequences, and I like the concept of her post-death scenes, but in these ghost sequences, she is very shticky, with a lot of one-liners, and more often than not, the jokes don't land. Like it's banter I'd more so see on Tequila and Bonetti. Something serious will be going on, and she might say, whatever, let's watch MASH. She's this close to saying things like, that went well. But their scenes together do get better as it goes, and you learn more about their friendship, and how not quite so perfect it was, and there is a very surprising reveal that's extremely powerful. The last act is downright gut-wrenching at times. This was an A- for me. It'd be as high as an A if I liked some of their banter early on a little better, but where it goes was worth all of that, so I highly recommend this one. Up next, Bill Murray wants revenge, and he'll shoot any shop owner that gets in his way. Stay tuned.
I'm sorry, Lefty. I had a lot of coffee, okay? Sorry.
And then you use my name? You catch our names by any chance?
Yep. He called you Lefty, and you called him Lonnie.
Riff Raff is a dark comedy that's part dysfunctional family movie, part holiday film, part crime thriller, so basically it's like the second part of a double feature you could watch with the ref. Ed Harris, back again, is with his family as they're going to enjoy a nice New Year's at the cabin, till his son Louis Pullman with his pregnant girlfriend show up with his passed out mom Jennifer Coolidge, and come to find out they're on the run from two killers played by Bill Murray and Pete Davidson. It is the kind of quirky crime movie with an ensemble cast that are all trying to steal the movie from each other, and for the most part that works. Davidson and Murray are really funny together, and they do the clever dialogue well. Jennifer Coolidge is a mix of her characters like in White Lotus, crossed with an ultra-vulgar mob wife. And she gets a lot of funny lines here. The one that took some getting used to was the kid who acts like he's Neil deGrasse Tyson but is a 90s sitcom teenager, but the more it went on, the more I was liking him. There'd be parts that I'd think had slowed down a bit because there's a lot of flashbacks here, which is risky because it could drift into unnecessary exposition or padding, but here it does work well. Some of the flashbacks are the funniest parts. And then others not only provide important details, but also surprisingly humanize some characters despite how awful of people they might be. It doesn't reinvent the wheel for this kind of film. It's one where a character is scared to shoot a gun early on, and you know he's gonna change that at the end. There's also narration from the kid at the beginning, like, whoa, let me just back up and start from the beginning. Then the narration will disappear for long stretches, like it was always an afterthought. There's these wacky neighbors that do stop the movie dead for a little bit, and the last couple of minutes are a bit much. There's a good twist, but how it keeps going goes into soap opera territory. But I can't deny I got a ton of laughs out of it. This is like a cool movie I would have rented back in high school. It's not perfect, but it is an unapologetically R-rated comedy, so it's a fun B. Up next, will I get as many laughs out of the Sloth movie? Let's find out.
So, if we're gonna compete for customers in the city, we need to start living in the fast lane. I need my glasses.
Space, right, Mika?
What? What are you even saying? We need speed.
Now this one I actually did go into cold, and not only that, I had no idea it's part of a franchise. It's an Australian series of films called Tales from Sanctuary City, and it's not even the most recent one. There's one after this released elsewhere called The Lost Tiger, and I kinda like the titles of these, like Combat Wombat. I hear she kicks Wombat. I also never know what trailers I'm gonna get in front of a movie like this. I got the trailer for an animated movie that's like Body Snatchers at a zoo and produced by Clive Barker. Sold. As for A Sloth Story, the plot is easy enough. The sloths move to the city where they have a successful food truck, but the evil fast food joint, led by Leslie Jones, who is part Prince, part Pedro Pascal from Wonder Woman 84, who wants that secret family recipe by any means necessary. This movie was actually a lot better than I thought it would be. I won't say it's laugh out loud funny. At best, it's some light chuckles, but what it does have going for it is the tremendous amount of heart as we see this nice family all working together, even when one makes the serious mistake of letting the recipe fall into the cheetah's hands. And when there are serious scenes, it lets these moments happen without ruining it with some kind of dumb joke. The movie isn't about lowbrow humor at all, and instead is a very character-driven genuine film, where you feel like you know them from the opening scenes. Even characters who you'd think would be obnoxious, like the friends, aren't, really only because they're not crowbarred into the story. They're there when they need to be and gone when they don't need to be. You can definitely see the low budget at times, in that it's a big city but with very little extras, so there's a lot of empty streets. It does get a little weird in the last act when it becomes a zombie film due to poisoned burgers. I got a little bored with that after a while. It really was like a whole other movie just suddenly happens. It comes out to a B- for me. It'd be higher if the laughs were a little better, and if the last act didn't get as bonkers. But looking at the list of movies playing in theaters this weekend, it's probably the better kids movie out right now. Up next, Griffin Dunne goes on vacation in Ex-Husbands. Stay tuned.
What a thoughtful brother you are to hold all this together.
Can we make this into a roast? This is still a bachelor party.
Lowry, just shut the fuck up, okay? Shut up!
I'll shut up.
Ex-Husbands is a little bit Woody Allen and a little bit sideways in a very good film, where Griffin Dunne stars as a New York dentist who is going through a divorce after 35 years of marriage and decides to take a vacation in the same spot his son is having his bachelor party. But his son hasn't told anyone yet that he and his fiancée have actually split up. I was looking forward to this for the cast alone, between Griffin Dunne and Rosanna Arquette reuniting 40 years after one of my favorite 80s comedies, After Hours, and it was cool to see Richard Benjamin back in something again. This has Dunne going through a late-in-life crisis, with his sons being in an early-life crisis, and they all average it out to a nice midlife crisis they can all go through together, and their different ways of dealing with depression. The editing at the beginning is a little off with some time jumping, and it throws you into the divorce plot before you really get a chance to know a lot of the characters. But luckily, with Dunne being perfect casting for the lead, he is an incredibly likable and sympathetic presence who has chemistry with anyone he shares a scene with. He tells this story about being drunk in his youth and trying to steal a saxophone at a Fats Domino concert, and he's so convincing. It's like, is that a true story? The movie doesn't give any easy answers or resolutions. When you think a relationship might go in a direction any conventional movie would, it doesn't do that, so it's a very honest film that makes this universe realistic. It's a high B+ for me. Like I said, some of the editing at the beginning was odd, and there's maybe one too many characters that get lost in the shuffle a bit, and the older son Nick, while his acting is good, his mopiness is the most one note out of all of them, but this is definitely worth watching. If it seems like your kind of movie, you'll really like this, especially if you'd love to see Griffin Dunne headline a movie again. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned next week for reviews of more movies, including Robert Pattinson in Mickey 17, and we'll see you next time.